Lewis Gray here from lewisgray.com, checking in with my6sense, the iPhone application with built-in digital intuition, helping you find the most relevant content to you from all your RSS feeds and now your social streams. Since we checked in the last month, my6sense introduced a new program called mytweetsense. What mytweetsense does is it integrates with your RSS activity that's already here and pulls in Twitter. And what it does with Twitter is not just add it to the noise, but it parses every single link that is shared from those people who you follow and finds the most relevant content. Let's take a look. From the last time we talked about my6sense, we talked about the two tabs that are here in the application. From the Relevance tab, showing those items that are most relevant to you based on your own activity, your own preferences, based on the sources that you like, the content that you choose to read, and the data from deep within the story that you might like. In addition to these great articles that I'm finding here on things that I like, social media, Facebook, FriendFeed, Google Reader, those type of technologies, Apple, Microsoft, it's popping those to the top. Notice how another article here from Facebook in the news feed. I'm seeing something new, Twitter. What this does is it takes tweets and actually treats my Twitter as a new RSS feed. If you take a look at this share from Barry talks about the ultimate guide to using Facebook as a job search tool. In this, unlike any other Twitter application, I'm not just seeing the retweet and the bit.ly link. I'm seeing a snapshot preview of that story. I get the headline, I get to know the source, and I get to see the first paragraph. Just like when you're sharing an item in Facebook and you get to do an excerpt, you get to see this from within my6sense and mytweetsense. Now, as before, I get to see interesting content that comes in from my RSS feeds. Top Twitter application acquisition targets for 2010 from Center Networks. Unsuspected success stories from TechCrunch. Here's some new content from Michael. He's sharing a good part from Google and Google Voice and cloud computing in 2010 from eWeek. I get to see the preview right here. So you might say, well, wait a minute. I don't want to take my RSS and scramble it with my tweets. What if I could only look at just my Twitter? Because I've got thousands of people I follow and I only want to see the best data. Well, mytweetsense has that covered. Go ahead and hit your Stream tab, scroll down to where it has Social Streams, and it's going to automatically find the best content just for you from your Twitter stream. Notice for me, real-time web. Twitter's increasing their API rate limit up to 10 times. Just imagine what that's going to do for the next version of TweetDeck. What about making more efficient use of Twitter? Now I'm following 10,000 people, which is part of why I need something like mytweetsense. But this woman is saying, why don't you just go ahead and get rid of those people who you aren't really connected with? All of these are good tweets, right? They've got good content. So it's really interesting to me, how can you take 10,000 people's updates, maybe they're updating 5 to 10 times a day, you're talking about 50,000, 100,000 tweets. My6sense does the legwork to go find the content that is just for you. Here's an interesting response from Beth Cantor to Anil Dash, who just got put on the suggested user list. He started out with 3,000 followers. Suggested user list pumped him up to hundreds of thousands of followers. And now he's got to say, well, what does this mean to me? What happens when my stuff gets retweeted a bunch more? What if I get a ton more replies? How can I deal with that? Very interesting. And Beth has taken the time to make a response. Notice how we get the source, the snapshot, including the headline and the first paragraph of that content. And that's relevant to me. How can I make this happen? If I go to my profile within the my6sense application, first, notice my digital intuition is transcending. It continues to move to the right the more I use the app. If I've added my Twitter in my social streams, as you can see by entering my credentials, I can then check further down into my settings. First things first, get the relevance right. Only in the last day or last 2 days, it's up to me. Check the relevant tweets with links. This is critical for me because there's so much content coming in through Twitter that doesn't have links. I'm going to see updates. Here's where I am. Here's where I'm checking in on Foursquare. Here's what I'm eating. Replies to people. Well, you know what? mytweetsense gets rid of all that. And so if I'm looking at just the last 24 hours, relevant tweets with links, all of a sudden Twitter becomes useful again. Take a look here. Another tweet shared by Turn Here about how Facebook dominated in 2009. Not just they did, but how did they do that? How did they continue to grow from this big level? Again, another share. So they know I like this article, right? The year in review, social networking via CNET. So really good content coming in. The best people, I know Jason Pollock's a great guy, Dr. Mark Drapeau. These are people who are relevant to me. These are people who are understanding what type of content that I might like. Even if they're not trying to share it directly to me, my 6sense knows that this is for me. So just like with other content with Twitter, you can hit the share button and share it with any other tool. But look what's new. Retweet, reply, direct message. It's taken those basic Twitter client functionality that you've used to being only seen in Seismic or TweetDeck or Tweety, and you can do these directly from your iPhone now right within mytweetsense. To get this application, go to my6sense.com. That's my the number 6 sense.com, or you go to your iTunes App Store and do a quick search for my 6sense. This could be the most relevant application you ever download, and it could save a tremendous amount of time. As you know, I spend lots of time on the web looking for good content, and my 6sense is now doing the dirty work to find that for me, not just in RSS feeds, but in Twitter as well. I've been advising them for a few months, and they just continue to get better, so check them out. Lewis Gray from lewisgray.com.